Okay, Danielle, so what brings you in today?
Okay, so I was just basically I'm starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed. I'm a full time graduate student and have a full time job, so it's getting around the midterms time, so trying to balance time to study for the midterms that I do have, and then projects, and then also working, and my hours at work are so inconsistent, and just trying to like squeeze everything in.
Oh, yeah. So can you tell me a little bit more about the program you're in currently?
Yeah, I'm in a master's in counseling program, and my emphasis is in school counseling. So it's just kind of the general program is kind of for anybody in counseling or wanting to go into a counseling field, but then I have the emphasis in school counseling, so it's more that emphasis is more geared toward working with children in a school setting.
Okay, awesome. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you did before enrolling at the U of A in the counseling program?
Sure. Job, um, my last job before coming to U of A um, was I was a case manager for a behavioral health clinic. Um, and I was only doing that for about 3 or 4 months, but I really liked it. That was kind of my first job in the field of psychology, counseling, things like that. And before that, I was working in childcare.
Okay, and education-wise, what did you do for your undergrad?
Yeah, I majored in psychology. Actually, I double majored. I majored in psychology and human services, but psychology was the primary major. So I just kind of knew that I wanted to do something. Once I declared the major of psychology, I just kind of knew that I was going to do something counseling related.
Okay, and I remember you saying that you had kind of a love for children right off the bat. Did that love kind of ever take you in a different approach, or have you always known you wanted to do counseling from a psychological standpoint?
Actually, when I was younger in high school and things, I wanted to teach. I thought I was going to be a teacher, and so I just kind of I thought I had the plan of I'd go to college, major in education, become an elementary teacher most likely, and just do that. But obviously that changed.
Okay, and so going back to this feeling of being overwhelmed, um, what are some of the things that you do to help yourself not feel overwhelmed?
Um, well, I try to just like make sure that I have everything planned out. I use a planner, so trying to know, like, make sure that I know exactly what is due and when it's due, and so that I don't feel like there's more than what there actually is. And then I try to just like make time to like spend time with my significant other or my family, or do something that's not school or work related.
Mm-hmm. So, this stress in general, do you feel that it is just existent when you're thinking about school, or I'm sorry, the feeling of being overwhelmed? Is it just present when school is in the back of your head, or is it something that's always there?
It's mostly with school. It's just um, mostly like the feeling that there's not enough time in the day to do what I need to do. I'm usually up by 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm usually up until midnight. And I was never. I used to be a morning person, but never up that late at night. But now I just don't have a choice. So mostly just that feeling of I don't have enough time in the day to do everything that's due.
Mm-hmm. I'm also really curious about the stress levels and the feeling of being overwhelmed in your undergrad. Is that something that was also a very overwhelming time for you, or is it something that is just more present in your master's work?
Yeah, I mean, particularly my senior year of undergrad, I was taking 20 credit hours my last semester, which just about killed me.
Sounds like a full load.
Other than that, I mean, yes, it was present, particularly when I had a lot going on, if it was getting toward midterms or finals week, and everything seemed to be due at the same time. I did have that feeling of being overwhelmed, but probably not quite as much as in grad school, just because it's a higher level of education, so it's a higher level of work, and now I'm also balancing a full-time job, which I didn't have for most of my undergrad. I worked part-time for a little bit for my freshman and sophomore year, and then my junior and senior year I didn't have a job, but I was an athlete, so I had that, which was kind of like a part-time job. But it was more balancing school and a part-time job rather than balancing school and a full-time job.
Okay, so what I'm kind of sensing is that when you were in undergrad, it was also overwhelming and stressful, but it seems as though now that you've moved into a higher level of education that it is just completely overwhelming and it's a little bit more stressful than it was back then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, I can imagine. Okay, we've hit 6 minutes, so just act like we've done something. I'm trying to think of what else I can ask about. Tell me more about your family life. What about your family life? Are they very supportive about you going to masters? Is Tucson home for you, or is this somewhere different?
No, Tucson's not home for me. Actually, Phoenix is home, so not too far. But it can be difficult just because I don't really have the time to drive up to Phoenix very often, and my family doesn't really have the time to drive down here.
Okay.
I do have a significant other that I live with down here, so I have, but they are all very, very supportive. My parents are supportive of me going on, and even though they were a little nervous about loans, which who isn't?
Yeah.
But they're very supportive, and my significant other is in school as well, so she understands what I'm going through and what it's like to balance. She also works as well, so we both are kind of can support each other, and we know what each is going through with balancing work and school.
I think it's great that you have a support system. It's great to have people in your corner to, cheer you on, and even better when you have someone that you live with. Do you have any other family here besides your significant other, or is it just you and your significant other?
It's just me and my significant other.
And you said that you don't have time to drive up there. Is it just because you have so much going on down here?
Yeah, mostly. I tried to drive up every once in a while, but it's usually just I have a day, or I have maybe one night that I can spend up there, and so I mean my family knows why I haven't been, why I'm not able to go up there, and they understand and they're supportive, but it can be difficult to, even though it's not that far, but it can feel far when you can't make that connection.
Of course. So what's about 2 hours is the drive?
Yeah.
2.5 hours.
Yeah,
okay.
about 2 hours.
Okay, and do you go home for holidays and all that? So when you're on break from school, you go home.
Yeah. I do have my full-time job. I work at a hotel, so it's a place that never closes, so I can't. We don't necessarily get holidays off, but I do try to request time off that I can go when I'm not in school. And
of course. And when you go home, what's that like? Is this overwhelming feeling still kind of sitting in the back of your head, or are you able to kind of relax and let everything go?
For the most part, I can relax and let things go. As long as there's not anything pressing. If I have projects that are due the next day, then it's a little bit overwhelming. But if I know that I don't have things due, or if it's like Christmas break and it's in between 2 semesters or summer vacation, then I don't feel as overwhelmed, so I can let things go usually.
So I'm sensing it's not really a debilitating feeling where it makes you kind of just you're dwelling on it 24/7, right?
Right, yeah, it's just mostly, it kind of comes and goes, right now, I think, just because it's midterms week. And so I've got tests, exams in every class, and I've got projects in almost every class, and
Of course, of course.
a lot of them are group projects, and it's difficult to meet with people because I work such inconsistent hours, and most of my group members work full time, and so that's almost part of the struggle. That's almost half of the struggle is just finding time to meet with your group to do the project.
So do you think overall it's not really a feeling of stress as in strictly work, but more kind of all the factors that go into being able to meet and being able to, have a consistent work schedule and kind of all that? You feel like all that fits together to kind of contribute to some of your the overwhelmed feelings you're experiencing?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, the work is a lot, especially like around this time, around midterms time, but yeah, the stress of having to work and, feeling like I should be doing homework, but then I have to go to work and, have to find time to eat and sleep.
There's just not enough hours in the day.
Right.
Of course. I know earlier you mentioned that you do some stuff to kind of take your mind off of the overwhelming feeling and then all the work you have to do. Have you ever tried to journal?
Yeah, I've tried it a couple of times.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I don't think it really works for me. Just because I think it helps to kind of think about things and to kind of get my thoughts out there, but I just haven't really felt that. It feels more of a now I have to go go journal. It doesn't feel like something that I'm really connected to.
So you don't feel like you're doing it for you, more of you're doing it because you have to.
Right. I feel like it's more of a, well, this is recommended and it's supposed to make me feel better, so I'm going to do it, but
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, okay. How about like recreational activities? Is there anything that you kind of cling to that you like to do? I know you said you golfed earlier.
Yeah.
You were an athlete. Is golfing still something that you do often, or?
Not as often as I used to because I'm not playing competitively, and I don't have as many people that are around me all the time that play golf anymore. But I try to every once in a while when I go to Phoenix. I'll play with my dad, but I also try to do other things. I like to spend time with my significant other or with anybody, family or whoever I'm around. So I try to make time for that, and I have started knitting, so I will try to knit sometimes if I have time.
Yeah. And that relieves stress for you? I mean, that kind of, when you have time, when you're not worried about everything else, you can sit down and knit for about an hour and it helps you?
Yeah.
It frees up your mind a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm totally going to use the first 5 minutes, so. Tell me more about your significant other. I know that that she is going to school as well. And do you guys see each other often? You spend a lot of time together?
Yeah, we actually live together
Okay.
in an apartment. So sometimes we feel like we don't see each other that much
Mhm.
just because she primarily goes to school in the mornings and works in the evenings, and at least during the week, I usually work in the mornings and go to school in the evenings. So our schedules are kind of opposite,
Okay.
and neither one of us are home. I mean, for the most part, all day we are gone, but we on the weekends we sometimes work the same shift, so we'll have like mornings together, and then
Okay, so you guys can spend some time together on the weekends with each other.
yeah,
Okay,
we try to.
that's nice. That's nice. And you said she works full time as well?
Yes, she actually works at the same hotel I work at.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Um, as far as being with one another, are you again able to let go when you're with her, or are you guys do you guys feed off each other's energy in the sense that she is stressed just as much as you are, to the point where when you guys are together, it's a lot of kind of like feeding off each other's energy with being busy and overwhelmed, or are you both able to just let that go and kind of just be with one another?
For the most part, we're able to just let that go. There are times when either one or both of us just have so much stuff due that we don't really have a choice. We have to do homework in the morning, or if we work in the evenings, then sometimes we have to spend the morning doing homework, and there's just no way around it. But especially when the workload gets a little bit less, or when we've gotten a lot of work done, we'll try to let that go and spend some time together.
Awesome. And what are some of the things you guys like to do together?
Well, we both knit, so she's actually the person I learned how to knit from.
Okay.
So we do that, or we'll try to just go out and do things together. We raise dogs for Guide Dogs for the Blind.
Oh, wow.
So we'll try to take the dog sometimes out to an event, or just take the dog to the mall and walk around, or something that gets us out of the apartment a little bit.
That's great. That's great to be focusing on something else other than the constant workload that you both seem to be experiencing. 17 minutes, you think that's fine?
Yeah, well, we had the 3 minutes that. Did you erase
No,
that?
I erased that.
Okay.
Yeah, I erased that. So this is just straight 17 minutes.
That's probably fine.
Yeah. How do people do an hour? That's crazy. Okay, go ahead. You can go now. Do you just want to run the same video? I think that's fine. And then we'll just submit like a 40-minute video.
Sure. Is there a way to like stop it and then start it in the same video, or does it erase?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think you can just go. We should be fine. Because he's not gonna watch the whole thing,
Right.
So he's not gonna see this. Okay.
Okay. Hi. What brings you in today?
Sorry. Wait. Before we start, should I do test anxiety too, or is that gonna kind of be a lot of the same stuff?
I don't. He's only gonna watch 5 minutes
Okay.
each, so I don't.
Test anxiety.
Okay, so we're at 18 and a half.
All right. You gotta make up for my other 2 minutes.
No, probably not.
No, it's okay. We can just take a break in the middle for like a minute or two and just do exactly this. Okay.
Okay. Hi, what brings you in today?
So recently, I have been having a lot of issues with test anxiety. It's midterms, and I just feel like doesn't matter how much studying I do, I just can't seem to retain the information.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the anxiety that you're experiencing. And
Okay, so it seems like when I study, like I study and I read a chapter and I get it, and I try to take a break and I come back to it and I just forget everything, and I try to read it again, and every time I read it, it'll come back to me and I'm like, okay, I get it. And then I go into the test and they put the paper down in front of me and I just blank. And it's never happened to me before. It's just a recent thing that's been happening, and I really don't know how to overcome it, and it's becoming a really big problem.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you're kind of nervous and feeling a lot of anxiety when tests or exams come up, and you're feeling like you know the material beforehand, but then once you sit down to take the exam, then you feel like you don't know the material as well anymore.
Exactly, and I feel like I study enough to get it. Like I should get it. I'm doing all the reading, I'm doing all the work, and I just don't. I feel like I'm just not retaining the information, or I'm retaining it, but the moment that that test hits the table, it's just gone. It's just not there anymore.
Yeah. So is this, I know you touched a little bit on this, but is this something that you've had before, or have you always experienced test anxiety?
I think in a sense I've kind of always had a little bit of test anxiety. Um, or really anything that has to do with grades. I'm kind of a perfectionist and I kind of want everything to be right all the time and I want to know that I'm prepared for everything and but I feel like I've always been able to kind of calm myself down before tests to the point where I can go in there and just breathe and it just comes to me. But it's just recently it's just not happening anymore. It's not the same.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about like where you are in school, what level of school you're in.
Okay, so I graduated last December with a Bachelor's of Science in Family Studies and Human Development. And I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do right out the gates. I didn't know if I wanted to get a full time job or, you know, pursue my master's. And um, I started substitute teaching just because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do yet. And I did that for about 6 months or so. And well, in that 6 months, I decided that I wanted to apply for grad school. And so I applied in February for a counseling program at the University of Arizona. Um, it's a master's in counseling with a emphasis in school counseling. And you know, after like I said, I substitute taught prior to that, and I just realized that I wanted to be a counselor in that type of setting, and so I, you know, obviously knew I had to get my master's, and so that's where I'm kind of at right now. My master's level in the first semester.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about. I know you said the anxiety is kind of around. It's been happening a lot more lately. What's been going on lately that has that may have sparked that change, or may have boosted that level of anxiety for you?
I think that just because it's a higher level of education, you know, it's just from the first couple of months that I've been in the program, it's just been so much more time consuming. And you know, I always tell my mom that I don't know what I did with myself in undergrad. Like
Right.
I felt like I didn't have time in undergrad, and now here I'm in grad school and I'm up till 3 a.m. reading chapters and you know trying to get all my work done, and I'm taking 5 classes, so I feel like that's a full load. But I just feel like maybe just in my head I think that it's a lot more than it is. I mean it is a lot more than it used to be, but I feel like it's still manageable.
Okay.
But
Sure.
I think I might just be feeding off the fact that it's a lot more that I kind of have to adjust to, and that's probably what's giving me my anxiety.
Okay. So before you kind of mentioned that you felt like maybe in undergrad you felt like you were able to kind of go into an exam and breathe and kind of calm yourself down and allow yourself to take the exam. Is there anything, are you doing either that or have you started any new techniques of maybe ways to attempt to calm yourself down before you take an exam?
You know, I feel like other than kind of taking a step back and taking a deep breath during my undergrad exams, I really haven't done much more while I take my like graduate level exams. I feel like there's like even back then I didn't really take steps to attempt to kind of diminish my anxiety just because I really didn't have that much, but I feel like I definitely need to have something, you know, to kind of hang on to or kind of like to consider when my anxiety gets really bad or
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. So have you thought about, do you have any ideas of something that might help you um, in terms of helping you calm down?
I think overall, one thing that I need to do is I feel like I might need to spend a little bit more time studying. Like in undergrad, I used to do like flashcards and I used to read the chapters 2 or 3 times, and that's something I haven't really been able to do in graduate school just because there's so much of it. If I was doing flashcards, I would have so many flashcards to review and
Right.
so many to write, and it's between the readings and that I don't know if I feel like there might not be enough time, but I feel like something that I could probably do is maybe just kind of put a little bit more time towards reading, maybe start a little bit earlier than the week before, or
Yeah.
maybe kind of making my time a little bit more useful, using my time a little bit more wisely.
Okay. So I'm hearing you kind of say that maybe you should be using your time a little bit more wisely. But kind of going back earlier to the session, you said that you study a lot and you feel like you study more and that you feel so much, like you've studied so much and then you just get more anxious. So, where think, do you think it's a matter of maybe you need to study more, or do you think maybe it's a matter of that you've done the studying and maybe there's something that you need to do to kind of calm yourself down and more prepare for the exam, not prepare the material for the exam, if that makes sense?
I think it could kind of go both ways. I mean, like I said, I feel like I'm studying enough, but at the same time, when they put the test down, I feel like I didn't study enough. So I definitely think it could kind of go either way. Like it definitely could be my anxiety that is kind of wiping the material from my head, or kind of blocking me from, retaining the information, just because I kind of anticipate not doing well on the exam because of my anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like maybe I need to spend, like it could go the other way in the sense that I need to spend more time studying, just because it's a lot more dense material, there's a lot more reading, and it's going to take a little bit, I think I need to realize it's going to take a little bit more time to grasp the concepts that I'm trying to learn.
Okay. Okay, so I'm hearing that you kind of think that, or you're kind of feeling that you're doing a lot of studying, but maybe that just the nature of being a higher level of education may require a little bit more time, or maybe a little bit of a different technique in studying.
Exactly.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about what you do in your spare time when you're not doing schoolwork, or when you're not thinking about school or work.
School and work are my life. I definitely. Well, what's nice is because I'm a substitute teacher. You know how it was when you're a substitute teacher. It's you're not really teaching material. It's more of a babysitting job, which is bad to say, but at the same time, it's true. So it's kind of nice because at work I get to read and I kind of get to keep up with that stuff. So when I get a lot of that done there, but when I'm not at work, or when I'm not at school, or consumed in all the homework I have to do, I'm a cheer coach. I'm a varsity cheer coach at the high school I substitute teach in, and I spend a lot of time with my girls, and 5 days a week we practice, and on Fridays we have games.
Mm-hmm.
Football games for right now, and starting the end of November we'll start football again. Basketball, and we'll have basketball games probably 3 times a week, and that's kind of pretty much all I do with my spare time. If I'm not at school, if I'm not working, I'm with my girls at cheer, and so my time is just completely booked, and if I'm not doing that, I'm sleeping.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're just kind of, it's getting a little bit difficult to balance a school life and a work life and a cheer coach life.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. I just feel like, you know, I almost wish, you know, I anticipated grad school being hard, but I almost didn't anticipate it being this hard or this not hard but time consuming. I didn't
Right.
feel like it would be this time consuming all the time, and I mean it really is. And so, you know, something unfortunately something that I would have to get rid of next semester would be probably my cheer coaching position. I'm sorry, after this year I'd probably have to do that, or because I just feel like when, and then it's kind of hard because I feel like sometimes when I'm at cheer practice, my mind is on homework or my mind is on the test I have to study for this week or something along the lines of that, and I feel like I can't give my girls my full attention sometimes, and that's not fair to them. And so I almost feel like my test anxiety and my need to study all the time is kind of overflowing into, you know, my other character, my other like the roles I hold in my life.
Okay. So it sounds like what I'm kind of hearing you say is that it's hard for you to kind of let that go when you're experiencing that test anxiety. And then when you go and kind of put your cheer shoes on and you're with your cheer team, it sounds like it's kind of difficult for you to let go of that anxiety and focus on what you're doing there.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's always in the back of my mind, and it's even started kind of affecting my family life. 'Cause, you know, my fiance at home, and he's so supportive, but at the same time, it's very, you know, I'm always busy with school. You know, he comes home, and you know, I used to be like the perfect fiance. Like I would clean. You know, when I had time, I would clean. I would, you know, have dinner ready. You know, like that's just something that I kind of, you know, take pride in, and the house was always clean, and you know, all this stuff. And now I'm like, it's just there's just no time. I can't, you know, even on the weekends, like the times where he has off and I have off, I feel like it's just a constant battle between wanting to spend time with him and a constant battle between my mind, like fighting myself to be like, you can be doing homework instead of just sitting here.
Sure. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about your home life or your relationship with your fiance. Is he supportive of you being in school and kind of supporting all of these roles?
He's very very supportive. He's always been supportive. We've been together for about 5 years, and we actually just got engaged this past July, and so he, you know, he's always supported me through this. We've lived together for about 3 years now, coming up on 3 years, and you know we started dating my senior year of high school, and you know, so this is the only life he's known of me. You know, he was with me through my undergrad. He was with me through my senior year in high school, and you know, so this is kind of the Megan he knows. You know, it's the one who's always doing homework, the one who's always, you know, busy, or you know, having to read or doing stuff like that. And so he's always been very very supportive, and I'm so thankful for that. But I just feel like at one point he's like, if I was him, I'd be sick of it. Because I'm not necessarily choosing homework over him or, you know, stuff like that, but I feel like sometimes he may think that, which is probably just in my head. Like, I feel like he probably doesn't think that, but he might think that, and so I don't know.
Yeah, so you kind of think that maybe you're kind of feeling like maybe he's starting to think that you might be choosing homework rather than spending time with him.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't really, I mean, I feel like that's just something that's in my mind. I don't really think that he thinks that, but I'm conscious of it. Like, I just don't want him to think that that's what I'm doing, or that, you know, and I mean, and I guess it really is a priority. School, you know, takes precedent over everything because, you know, it's, you know, what you need to do in life, but I just don't want it to affect kind of my everyday life. Yeah, like I don't want it to spill over into my social life or my family life or anything like that. And you know, I haven't really been able to have time with friends or anything like that, so that's really hard too. And I feel like, you know, it's either it's a toss up between like being a grown up or having a social life. And
Sure. So you're kind of feeling like it's do you kind of feel like it's maybe not possible to be a grown up and still have a social life or um, have a relationship with others outside of
Yeah.
those?
In a sense, kind of. I feel like it's a lot, and it's. I have so much respect for the people who can do it, but I just feel like I can't at this point, and I think I need to realize that it's short term. My master's is only 2 years, and so by the time I'm done with that, the time from other than the time I'm in a full time position and hopefully working in a school from 7 to 3:30, all my other time will be free.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be coming home to read or coming home to do homework or something like that. And so
Sure.
I think something that I try to concentrate on is the fact that it's short term, that it's not forever.
Sure. Do you think that the other people in your life, your fiance or your friends, kind of have those thoughts that that it's not possible for you to be their friend or to be their fiance and still go to school? Like, do you think that they're thinking that you're choosing them over or choosing homework over you?
It kind of sits in the back of my mind. I mean, it's always a possibility. I think the last person who would ever say something or, really truly think that would be my fiance. Like I said, this is the only me he's ever known. So I feel like he's kind of just used to it, and I'm being kind of self-conscious about it. But like friend-wise, socially, I mean, other than kind of, the friends that I have from, undergrad, or the friends that I've made just in my master's program already, other than them, I feel like my other friends don't really, like the friends I've had since, 5-6 years ago, they don't really understand because they're not at this point in their life.
Sure.
They're not really, I have one friend who works full time as a, cosmetologist, and, she has a really different schedule than I do. And, I used to see her all the time. Even in undergrad, we would spend a lot of time together, and I don't have the time for that anymore. And I feel like she says she understands, but my fear is that she doesn't, and I just don't want, I just don't want all my relationships to suffer because of that. And like, I have a really supportive family as well, and, so luckily I kind of have, my fiance and my family to fall back on, but I don't want to lose my friends.
Right. So, well, I think it's great that you have a strong support system with your family and with your fiance. I think that's very important that you have that relationship and that it's strong enough to kind of withhold the busyness of life.
Yeah. And it definitely helps. Like, it kind of takes away some of the anxiety. Like, going back to kind of the test and, test anxiety is like, if I feel I did poorly on a test, I'll just call my mom, and, I can just tell her, Mom, I don't feel like I did very well, and, she does the mom thing. Did you study? And, yeah, Mom, I studied. Did you do this? Yeah, Mom, I did all that. But she's always kind of there to, one, be my cheerleader in my corner, and also two, to kind of, just kind of reassure that, I can only do my best.
Right.
There's not much more I can do than what I'm doing now. I mean, it's not something that I can really, like, blame on myself in a sense. I mean, obviously it is if I feel like I'm not studying enough, but if I tried my best, there's nothing more I could have done. There really isn't.
Well, I think that's a very good outlook to kind of assure yourself that if you've put your 100% effort in, that's all you can do. And I think that's great that you have that outlook, and it's a very healthy outlook to have, and that you have a strong support system.
39 minutes. We should be good, right? Yeah. Should we just fake it for like a couple of minutes, so at least we hit like 41?
Sure.
Okay. That actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
No, it wasn't. We really only
39 should be fine, right?
yeah.